I'm sure you heard about this. If you haven't, sit down, because there's been a little earthquake in the gaming industry. Valve just raised the price of the Steam Deck OLED, and not just by a little, because the 512GB jumped from $549 to $789, and the 1TB from $649 to $949. That is 46.2%, nearly 50% for the 1TB version. Almost $1,000 for a Steam Deck. And honestly, I think, and I know this is used a lot, I think this changes everything. Not just for the Steam Deck, but certainly for Valve's hardware future, especially for the incoming Steam machine. But I'd even argue that it changes handheld gaming as a whole, because for years the Steam Deck felt like the exception, not cheap, but surprisingly fair. It felt like Valve was trying to make PC gaming accessible. You looked at the deck and you thought, how is this thing this affordable? And that was kind of part of the identity, it was part of the magic. And now it is $949 US. And I feel that at this price, something changes psychologically. I got mine for €590, the 1TB version. It was second-hand but closed box. So seeing this suddenly approach $1,000 feels kind of surreal, because now the Steam Deck stops feeling like a reasonable enthusiast handheld and it starts feeling more like a premium hardware. And once that happens, people are going to compare it differently. Suddenly devices like the ROG Ally X, which is $1,000, or the MSI Claw 8AI Plus, $1,000, even the crazily priced Lenovo Legion Go 2 with the $2,000 or whatever that thing costs, well, they don't look that expensive anymore. And that is a massive shift, because for years the Steam Deck basically won the value argument automatically. Now that conversation becomes a lot more complicated. Valve is saying that the increase comes from rising memory and storage costs. Honestly, I believe them. We know the whole story. RAM, SSD prices climbing. It's AI's fault. Gaming is getting caught in the middle of it. But here's the important part. Valve clearly decided not to absorb those costs anymore. And that matters, because the Steam machine actually uses the same supply chain reality, same memory markets, same storage costs, same pressure, except the Steam machine is expected to be more powerful than the Steam Deck. We heard 6 times more powerful, which means if the deck now costs nearly $1,000, well, what's going to happen to the Steam machine? Because suddenly all the conversations about $999 being too expensive for the Steam machine, they start looking very differently. And I think today revealed something important, because for years, people assumed that Valve would aggressively undercut the market forever. They'd somehow valve the pricing, take losses, do something crazy, make the impossible happen. But this feels different. This feels like Valve saying, no, hardware is expensive now. And if that's true, then the Steam machine probably isn't going to be what we hoped. It isn't going to be a console-priced kind of device. It might actually become something else entirely. It might become a premium SteamOS ecosystem, a high-end Enthusiast type of platform, and that changes the expectations massively, because now the Steam machine doesn't just need to justify the performance, it needs to justify the price as well. And here's the weird part. After the initial shock, and I'm sure we're going to talk about this for quite a while, and a lot of us are not going to like it, I still think people are going to buy it, because the value of Valve hardware was never just raw specs. It was always about the experience. So SteamOS, suspend and resume, the simplicity, the console-like feeling. And I think people got the taste for not having just a PC anymore, but something more frictionless that you can play in your living room. And Valve is still better at doing that than basically anyone else, but today changed something. And honestly, I don't think it only changed things for the Steam ecosystem, because if the reasonable gaming handheld suddenly becomes a near $1,000 device, the rest of the market is eventually, surely, following that logic too. And that's the part that really worries me, because for the first time, Valve hardware stopped feeling affordable. And if you've been excited for the Steam machine, I think that today gave us a clear hint, or the clearest hint yet, about what's probably going to come in terms of costs. So it's a short one today, but a hot topic, and I'm genuinely curious. Is this the new normal? And if it is, what price do you expect the Steam machine to have? And more importantly, at what point does Valve hardware actually become too expensive, even for SteamOS? Let me know down below. Let's talk about it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.